Hi everyone, this is May. Thank you for joining me here and welcome to my segment of Women Who Wow. Every single month I feature a woman that I feel is an inspiration and who will also inspire and empower women to pursue their passion or calling. I feel that every single one of us should pursue that no matter what stage in life you're in, whether you're 25, 55, 65 or 75. If you are called to do something, you go do it. I call it Woman Up. And in this case, I want to introduce to you Kathy Feliciano Chon. I've known Kathy for at least 30, maybe 35 years or so. And she was born and raised in the Philippines. And she was about 13 years old, or maybe 12 or 13, when her family emigrated to the United States. Went to school. She got her degree in communications. And Kathy now lives in Hong Kong. She is married to a wonderful man, Michael Chon, and they're both raising 3 beautiful children. And Kathy actually founded her company. It's a brand and marketing and communications consultancy firm in Hong Kong. And her clientele spans the globe. And I'll let Kathy explain that more.
To answer your question, how did I start this? I joined my husband in Hong Kong in 1997 because he was based there, and the plan was for me to take some time off to be a mother, and the plan was to stay in Hong Kong for only 5 years and eventually move back to Los Angeles. And obviously that didn't happen because we're on our 20th year and we're still there. I had no plans to really start an agency or any consultancy for that matter. But I knew that being a stay-at-home mom, housewife, really wasn't going to make me happy. That for me to be happy at home, I wanted to continue to stay productive, to be able to contribute meaningfully. And so after taking a very short sabbatical of only a few months, decided to accept a number of freelance projects. And those freelance projects eventually turned out to be long-term engagements that required for me to scale up, build a team, open an office, and really invest in a thriving practice.
So what kind of clientele do you serve? I know I mentioned earlier that your business spans the globe.
Right. So while we may be based in Hong Kong and Shanghai, our clients are based all over the world. We specialize in 3 categories, the main one being hospitality. So many of our clients are leading hotel groups, such as the Mandarin Oriental Hotel Group, Marriott, which is one of the largest hotel companies in the world. So, in our 16-year history, we've had the good fortune of working with some of the top names in hospitality and tourism. The other category is F&B, and we work with a number of global F&B initiatives like World's 50 Best Restaurants Awards, arguably the most influential restaurant list in the world right now. And then we also have another category which is purely in architecture and design. You might ask, what do those 3 different buckets have in common? They basically all intersect with hospitality. And we offer them a number of services from new brand development all the way up to PR campaigns and launches.
You mentioned all this clientele that you serve in a city where you did not know anybody.
Right.
How did you start with your first client? How did you find that first client in a foreign city?
Well, Hong Kong is a relatively international city, although it was under British rule for many hundreds of years. English is widely spoken, though, not as much as I had expected it to be. So I had my challenges. I didn't seek to find a client. I think, through socializing with people and just really being myself, and people were interested in my background and what I did before moving to Hong Kong, And from there, opportunities just came my way. I didn't set out to sell myself.
Right.
Um, and on that premise, I just wanted to do good work with good people. That
Okay.
was really the mission um, of our consultancy, and it continues to be the guiding principle of our consultancy. In that, you know, we choose projects and briefs that will not only challenge us, but will also surround us with people that we want to be around.
What would you say are your greatest obstacles in running your own company?
It's a very lonely position to be in. I think when you're leading a company, you really the buck stops with you.
Okay.
So you have to make a lot of decisions, and you don't really have the benefit of, let's say in my case, other partners
Okay.
that I could consult with or seek second advice or what have you. So it's a very lonely thing. But also starting it in a market where you're basically a foreigner. You don't speak the primary language there, so that means that you are an outsider. You're in their territory, so in many ways, you have to conform to their ways. And
Okay.
if you're an outsider working in that kind of an environment, you're constantly having to overcompensate for being an outsider and having to make sure that you're accepted, that you are sensitive to the local norms, that you are making an effort to understand the local mindset and having your ear to the ground. So it's a case of always trying to reach, you have to be the one that has to reach over. We as Americans tend to be quite opinionated and self-righteous in terms of when we go into other countries and, dictating our ways and what we think is right or the right way. And you go into these markets and you have to realize that, there are central truths to the way they do business. It may not be your solution for it, but at least you need to be mindful of that.
Okay. What is the most, I'm sure there are many ways, but what is the most fun part of your job?
I think the most fun part of my job is there's no 2 days alike. It's you're constantly in the midst of what is making news. Okay, whether it's new brands that are about to be launched, new campaigns, people who are making news, um, um, innovators, revolutionaries. So that's what's fun. I mean, you're surrounded by people who have a hand at creating things, and that's very stimulating. You're always collaborating.
Okay.
You're always trying to understand the market. So again, doing market research work, which the agency does a lot of. So that means you're constantly engaging with people at many different levels.
That's wonderful. What do you think is the kind of strength of character does a person need to accomplish something that you've done?
When you set out to do something like this, I mean, there are those who set out with big visions and long-term thinking, and there are those who set out with simple core truths that guide, their small steps day by day. And I think that you have to have a combination of strength and grace. Strength means, being able to stand by your principles, having a measure of decisiveness, being able to make decisions. Strength is also being able to admit when you're wrong and learn from it, most importantly. Grace is also being able to open yourself up to the universe and what comes your way, and also, grabbing it. If opportunities don't materialize, then make it,
Right.
create your own opportunities. I think that when you come from a grateful heart, you tend to attract people who will be on your side, and you just create a bigger movement, right?
That's great.
And it's infectious. So, and that tends to override naysayers, all the negativity, competition, and what have you.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautifully said. So, Kathy, this is my last two questions.
Mhm.
Let's go back to your teenage years. What 2 or 3 pieces of advice would you give your 14-year-old self?
Okay. Trying to think of what I was doing when I was 14 years old. I think these pieces of advice that I will share now are things that I would tell my own daughters
Okay.
who are in their teens, and what I tell them now basically is, I think if you can develop the radar, the criteria to choose good and right friends, okay, the measurement stick to be able to choose friends that will uphold you, friends that will respect you, that will help you along the way, that will be there for you when times are good, but also when times are bad. If you can develop that at a very young age, that often helps you to be able to choose the right partner, because you will learn not to compromise. You will learn to compromise for the right things, right? And you will develop a healthier self-esteem.
Okay.
You know, because oftentimes I think girls are always beset with problems about fitting in, peer pressure when you're a teenager. But if you can have that kind of foresight to choose what is a good friendship, you know, and friends that can uphold you, love you, make you laugh, give you energy, allow your eccentricities, allow you to be who you are, then if you can do that, that leads you to the next step wherein you develop, you know, a healthier self-esteem to be able to make tougher decisions in your life. So that's one piece of advice. The second piece of advice that I tell my daughters today is try and develop or acquire financial literacy at a very young age. Because for women, I think that we are held back in terms of understanding what it is to make our own money, to spend it, share it, and invest. You know, oftentimes we only learn how to make it and how to spend it and how to budget, but we don't learn how to make it grow. Now, and it's things that these are
Right.
principles that tend to frighten us, or that come to us very late in life. And I think if you understand that language at a young age, it gives you some measure of empowerment and independence earlier in your life, you know, so you don't have to rely on others to be, you know, secure, economically secure. So those are the two. Does that make sense?
That's great. Guys, I hope you're hearing this and making notes. Financial literacy and choosing the right group of friends, because that will take you
Further.
further. My final question. What 2 books would you give to someone who wants to, I call it, woman up?
You know, I'm not very big on self-help books. So, but I love reading. I've been part of a book club for over 20 years, so I tend to choose fiction.
Sure.
But if I were to recommend one book or a series of books that that I could relate to as a woman, and that made me think, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, it certainly will inspire a lot of discussion with friends, is the Neapolitan series written by Elena Ferrante. You know,
Okay.
it's a series of 4 books, but it basically takes you through the friendship of 2 women from the 1950s to present day in the context of southern Italy. But it addresses a number of issues that we women face in terms of our role in society, our role in our families, our roles as girlfriends, and the choices we have to make along the way. You know, the compromises, the challenges, the deals, and so on and so forth. And it's a gripping saga. It's an epic, book that will. I mean, I finished mine in 2 weeks. You know,
Wow.
because it was just. So I think, if I were to say, like, if I were to recommend one book, I would say read that book, because it's going to make you think. You would be able to identify with some of the characters presented
Awesome.
in that book.
I got the series, girls, ladies, so get your copies as well. Anything else you want to add before we
No,
close?
any other questions you may have?
No, that's it. I hope everyone here that's watching, I hope you guys got something out of it. I really hope that this serves as an inspiration to you to really step up and woman up, as I was saying earlier. So have a great day. I hope to see you again soon for our next featured Women Who Wow. And see you guys later.
Bye now.
Ciao.